you could stare at a wall and still be productive. Mm-hmm. And yes, you may only see each other once a year, but you're consistent. And you look forward to that. But that part of your relationship, there is no resentment. There is no shame in, hey, you haven't called me in 2 months. Welcome back to Two Caring Gents, where real conversations meet real growth.
Good to see you, Nick.
Oh, so good to see you, man.
Yeah, brother. Yep. Coming off our talk on optimism last week, now leaning in on something that we both see just a ton of value and a ton of opportunity, talking to our community, talking to our network, folks that listen to the show. We're going to talk about consistency, both in our personal and in our professional life on the show. And then also, how do we persist through the most difficult of times? Very hard to do if we're not consistent.
I mean, consistency plays such a big role. I mean, if you think about it, just in your simplest times in life, consistency, wake up, get ready for school. At school, it was consistent. You had each, let's say you had homeroom, then you had, literature, math, throughout the day. Then you had lunch. It was a very structured day. And that's how you moved along in your education year after year after year, right? Which then carried over into college, and hopefully you kept those same values and that same drive to get yourself through college. But I think once we get into life, it's very easy to fall out of that consistency.
Yeah.
And then we get to the feeling of feeling lost or lack of direction, or that life is just really messy and overwhelming. And I think that leads us down a path of a lot of negative feelings.
Absolutely. And one thing that I get asked a lot about is especially maintaining friendships, and just dig right in on the personal side of consistency. Being friends with someone for a long time is hard work. And I don't take that lightly or for granted at all. I was telling you stories 2 weeks ago. College World Series is in town, and I've got two friends that travel to Omaha every single year to see me and to hang out with the family. And, and the buildup starts in May. We're coming these dates. This is where we're going to get in. They will only stay with us at our house. They will not stay in a hotel. They want time together. And I was telling you, we were sitting in Blackstone at Archetype Coffee, free plug for Archetype. We got to get our coffee plug in.
Yeah.
And this was a Saturday morning at probably 10 o'clock. And that's part of our ritual is Friday we go to a game. They've got stuff that they want to do around town on Friday. Saturday we get up and we go have coffee together. And so every year I look forward to having this opportunity with them. Their name's Norman Keith. Okay. Nice. The two guys that I lived with and I moved to Chicago first time. So these are the guys that had the room open. That was where the futon went on the floor at their
PlayStation.
Yes.
And a 13-inch TV. How big was the TV? Was it 13 inches?
Maybe. I don't. It had the right dimensions for an 8x10 bedroom because that was a shoebox. So the big TV would have not made sense. I had no money for that. Remember when TVs used to cost $1,000, $800? Now you can get a great TV for a couple $100. So, so we're sitting there, Nick, and I'm talking to them and thanking them, and it's really incredible. I was overwhelmed. I was just overcome by emotions. I started to tear up as I'm talking to them, and just felt natural. And the reason I teared up is I became aware that every year they give up 2 days plus travel, so really 3 days of their life to come and see Jacqueline, myself, and the girls, and Keith brings his son with. And so my girls, I think Nolan's 13, and Livy's 12. So my girls and Nolan get to hang out, and but just on the personal side of consistency, it was perfect timing as this topic came up as we were writing the script for this one, that just for someone to take the time to make the effort to be available and to talk. And we talked about that in our last show with optimism, just that one person that believes, Right. So,
I mean, that's you'd think, 3 days, that's nothing. But it is. It's a lot. Most people can't even give up an evening.
Right.
For friends or for anyone outside their responsibility, because we get so entrenched and we get comfortable. We get into a space where we don't need to leave our home. And that, in some cases, that's okay. That's not a bad thing, as long as you're in a happy place. But then you also don't want to forget those relationships that are such a big part of where you are today. So I think that's really, really important, really neat to see that relationship with others, and to go so long. That in some instances you have where people sometimes, when you're in a relationship, if you're not on it or going above and beyond for that other person, that sometimes they hold that against you, and the resentment begins.
Right.
So to have friends that allow you to do what you need to do in life, and yes, you may only see each other once a year, but you're consistent, and you look forward to that. But that part of your relationship, there is no resentment, there is no shame in, hey, you haven't called me in 2 months. Just knowing that you're doing you. You got responsibilities, you got a life, you got a family, you got a career.
Yeah.
But hey, we're here. We're here if you ever need anything. And hey, we're going to make sure we're going to square out this part of every year to make sure we get that time together.
Yeah, and that's a very specific example of long distance, right? But also the friends that I have that are close by, that just every 48 hours checking in, especially when someone's struggling. You increase the cadence, you increase the just checking in on them. Yeah. And you
did that when I needed it. You would just check in, and it would just be like the perfect timing.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's ever bad timing.
Yeah.
When people need that.
Right. And you don't need to, you can make it very ritual, where it's actually documented. Like, I'm going to reach out to somebody, I'm going to schedule time. I think with you and me checking in on you, you're in my mind all the time. And I think that's what's really cool is having the wherewithal that the world's bigger than yourself. And when there's somebody in need and you're healthy, to give that good energy and try to pick somebody else up and try to check in on them, that you're just in my mind all the time. And I think that goes back to the last episode that we had too, is, just the amazing, just kind of you can't put a value on picking someone else up and that consistency. With your personal life, like, how do you, it's a challenge for you to get around. Like, it's hard. It's hard for you to get out, get into public with the kids. Like, how do you structure your day? How do you, stay consistent? And then also, like, how do you find time for yourself so that you're mentally in a good spot for Rach and the kids?
Yeah. I mean, it started as small consistencies, but when you are in a wheelchair, per se, or with any real disability, especially a wheelchair, your spontaneous piece of your life is, you can still be spontaneous in a way, but every action and activity you have within your own home, there is things you have to make sure you check off the list before you go do it. And then in my case, I take a lot of medicine. I do infusions once a week. So I have to make sure I leave those opportunities open to do that in that time, and not let it interfere with my life or relationships, making it to where no one would even know unless I told them.
Right.
That's my goal.
Yeah.
That's my goal every day, is behind the scenes. I'm like a broken Ferrari. I'm expensive and I take a lot of attention. And if I get taken out, right, for a day, even a date night, there's a chance I'm going to break down. Yeah. And I'm going to have to go back to the shop. And so, there's a lot of planning. And, really, like when we were talking, you were asking, because I reflect a lot. And, my wife looks at me and I'm always like, I'm daydreaming, but I'm planning, and my thoughts are organized. And if I feel like it's something that I really, if you open up my office drawers, notes everywhere, To me, to her, it looks like chaos, but to me, it's organized. You could look at my phone. I have the red dot with the numbers. Like my text messages, it drives her nuts. But for me, that's a way I organize to where I know I don't read them, because if I read them, I don't want to forget that person.
Yeah.
I take the time, I square out the moment to put attention to that, whatever it is, whether it's a task, whether it's a relationship, something. I want to give it the full attention. So I keep them unread so I can go back and read them when I can really put attention to it, but not to make sure I drop the ball on doing what I needed to do. But
do you and Rachel have, a way to block time for you two?
It's tough with 3 little kids. I will say that. We spend a lot of time on our deck. It's right off our kitchen. Kids don't really go out there unless they need something. And it is like quiet for us. I would say at night we reflect. And I like to reflect on personal matters at night. Morning is professional. That's when I'm strategizing on my approach of a professional, what impact I can make outside my family in a professional setting or a philanthropy setting. That's that time. And I usually have that done. My goal is to get it done as fast as I can and have it done by 1 o'clock. That's my goal. Or 2 every day. I like to be done after lunch. And then the rest of the day is commitment to family. Yeah. Friends, family, and that's it. And sometimes it bleeds over because some people, you leave a message, they call you back at 3:30. Not holding that against anybody. That's fine. Yep. But I try to do that every day, and that keeps that consistency going.
Yeah, I hope everybody realizes, 2 o'clock, I think there's a lot of people listening to this that are checking emails. I know I've been one of them that's checking emails at 7:30, 8 o'clock. I'm very grateful for kind of the professional situation I'm in now, where there's a really great leader at the front of the company that we're starting up, and he's very family focused, right? Let's go hard from 8 in the morning until 4 or 5 o'clock at night. Sure, we might check some things, but just that balance to be consistent. I was listening to a podcast earlier this week, and so good. The person being interviewed said, we all get canceled at some point. Yeah. And so the focus on our occupation can just take things over, and that consistency that I love, because you have some stuff going on right now. You've got a couple businesses, you got the foundation that you're growing, and you've got a lot going on. And so as we were preparing for this and hearing you say, getting people to understand that if you get really intentional about structuring your days and blocking time for certain things and not letting those bleed over, and also not wasting time. We talk a lot about it on this show, that in between our phone gives us and all of these inputs. And one of my hacks is from about 9 o'clock until 10:30 outside of calls, I have white noise on in my ears so that I'm just in a tunnel. And that hour and a half is probably the amount of information I can move during that hour and a half is really, it's pretty amazing how many things I can check off. But I think we do live in a world, especially at home too, it's so easy to get distracted and not be consistent to give the time to the family.
Yeah, and I watch my boys full time. 4-year-old twin boys, they're crazy. They're spontaneous. I have to teach them that consistency, and I have to do certain things at a certain time every day. We have to block that out. And then after that, it's me and you. It's dad and the boys. Because you have a responsibility. It's a job too. You have a responsibility to expose them to the world, museums, playgrounds, and life. You can't just keep them cooped up in the house. So that's a lot of times where that 1, 2 o'clock hard stop for me, because then I can take that afternoon before museums close and before, we get carried away with dinner, baths, all this stuff. So, that really kind of came from that year, early of this year of taking that on. And, it was huge because I didn't have that ability for the first 3 years of their life. I didn't have that ability because I was in no place to be able to do it. So to meet that, but now incorporate, not only expanding their world and molding them, but I have to also restart myself. So we're kind of in this weird, at the same level, growing. And so, yeah, it's exciting, but I want people to know that people think they need to be busy. They need to be typing, looking at something. You could stare at a wall and still be productive. Mm-hmm. People underestimate the power of the mind.
Yeah.
And how you can organize. And if you think first and then act, that time acting is going to go way quicker, way smoother, and you're going to accomplish a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. You listened to Arthur C. Brooks before?
I did.
Okay. So not the one that I think I sent you, and anybody listening to the show,
it's one of my new favorite podcasts.
Yeah, man. I mean, it just, and it's Simon Sinek, and then you name it, and the guy's just everywhere. And then he writes the book with Oprah. The guy is incredible. And he talked about someone in the 1940s. Okay. And you're in the 1940s. So some electricity, some plumbing, no TV yet. You got radio. So, it's your mental default mode, which is essentially you are just sitting and you're in a state of just reflection or just with your thoughts. And I think about my dad and my mom growing up on the farm that, there wasn't this constant, once the work was done around the farm, beyond that point, you had yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And you had your family to hang out with. And I think it's such a great point for all of us to check ourselves that we don't need to be fiddling with something all of the time. No. It's not healthy. And there's plenty of research out there if folks go and look it up, that our brain thrives on rest. That's why sleep's so important. And to that front, on the personal side, every night usually lights out for me is about 10 o'clock. My alarm goes off at 5:30. I work out from 5:45 until about 6:30. Walk the dog. Walking the dog is typically that's my self time.
Yeah.
But I've even recently stopped listening to podcasts on my walk because I just want to look at the sky and be grateful and just have my thoughts. Because I noticed from the moment I get up to all the way until I go to work, it's filled with content. And I've caught myself now really, really appreciating just quiet. Yeah. And I'm not, I don't have it all figured out on being consistent, but I do see my level of productivity and effectiveness, both being a husband and a dad, and then being a productive worker with that consistency. I think a lot of times folks will ask, I want to go do this, whether it's relational or it's job. And just the bones of it. The bones of it is that foundation we talked about last week, that a big part of being right is having consistency, sleep schedule, and kids can make that really difficult. But I think that's a huge thing. Like you said, you try to get your day structured so at 2 o'clock it stops.
Yeah, it stops. I mean, we just moved our kids, so they were infiltrating our bedroom. The boys were in there, but our 7-year-old, she's like, it's not fair. You guys are all together, and I have to sleep alone.
Did Juliet stay with you and Rachel?
So she would come in and then be there.
Yeah.
And so, when all the kids were in our room, it was tough.
You had all three?
They would all three end up in our bed.
Oh my goodness.
You would not notice. You would just wake up. But you would be so tired. And I'd be cranky.
Yeah.
And my thoughts would be messy.
Yeah.
And I was telling Rachel, I was like, I can't function. It's hard. And I know you're being affected. And then you end up, almost like staying up later than you normally would just to catch them trying to get into your bed.
Yeah.
And so then you're always like, you're not going into real deep sleep because you're on anticipation of trying to catch them. And it's kind of really tough, but they've been almost a week in their room. Wow, what a change. So how important sleep is, how important it is for everyone to have their space, because they're sleeping better. They're less crazy and cranky, and no one's, less loud voices and meltdowns throughout the day.
It's really interesting. They talk about folks are having trouble sleeping these days. And probably because of the amount of input, like there's just noise all the time.
You don't unplug.
Right.
Like we took the kids to the library and I got a book, and my wife reads all the time. She reads a lot.
Love it.
We have like a library in our house. Every shelf is full of books that she's read. And, I'm one of those people that it's very difficult for me to read. I love to read, but, I fall asleep. It's too relaxing in a sense. But I really I'm trying a new book. I haven't started yet, but I'm really excited to get into it. And it's a simple book. It's
what do you got? What is it?
So it's called what is it? What's it called? It's basically, I can't remember the title, but it's an old book. Like this book's probably from the 70s, and it's just a simple book. It's like the Troubled Children, and I was reading the back, and it's every kid. It's like this foster home, or like this home with like a bunch of kids, and each one of the kids has like their own unique challenge, right, for the parents. And I don't know, to me, I've read a snippet, but it intrigued me enough to rent it, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't know much about it, but I'm going to learn everything there is about it, and it's just an easy read. Nothing has to be difficult.
No, it doesn't. And we've, again, reading is only you taking in information and then conceptualizing that information versus the information that we take on now. There's somebody telling us the way that we should think, or is the information clean? Is it being posed this way? Is it being posed that way? And so I think it would be, I can't read on a tablet like I can holding a book. I'm always impressed by people on vacation. They have their tablet. I'm like, that's amazing. I can't do it.
I can't. I got to feel the paper, and I like the smell. Man, this book, they don't smell good, but there's a unique smell that's comforting.
Sure.
It's a very nostalgic smell.
New shoes.
Yeah. And I'm like, I picked this book because of its smell.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, yep, it's got a right smell. And how many hands and feet, who knows where this book's been. It's older than I am. But, in the sense that it provides that comfort and that relaxation, sometimes too relaxing. But, I think people, it's hard to disconnect and unplug. But then we also get so many examples, right, in our life, good or bad, things happening that you didn't even think would happen in the world, tragedies or, trauma. I mean, you can go down the rabbit hole just on, social media stories.
Yeah.
And, we're basically a filterless society. There's no way to really, unless you go in your options and maybe try to filter, but it finds its way through. But it's tough. I mean, I think I love being in thought. That's how I get the ball moving forward. And, managing a family, managing a business, managing any event you're going to be putting together for a good cause. You don't want to drop the ball, but I think well thought. There's a reason they say well thought out.
Yeah. Because
you're thinking and put your notes. Do however you want to know. You can get it out of your mind. Think about it. Have a little notepad. Journal. And there's so many things you can do to get your thoughts out in a healthy way. Thank you for tuning in to Two Caring Gents. I hope what was discussed resonates with you or someone you know. Please, if there's someone in your life that, what we discuss you think needs to hear, please share. Please like and subscribe. That helps us as this channel grows to really move everything forward. So thank you for your time listening in, And we look forward to sharing more with you next week. Thank you and have a wonderful week.